Barb will be the one facilitating the meeting as my representative tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just here
It
for the
is-
first couple minutes.
Nope, I think it is 6 o'clock tonight. So we will call the special school board meeting for Independent School District 882 to order on October 19th at 6 o'clock. With that, we'll have the approval of the agenda.
So moved. This is Melissa.
Second, this is Candy.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Candace Carta. To approve the agenda, all those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Missy,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Candy,
Aye.
and Jill, aye. Motion to approve the agenda passes 6-0. Jill, I don't believe we had any requests for citizens' comments.
No, we did not.
So we'll continue on to the consent agenda. Board members, you received your packets via email with all of the information in there. If there aren't any questions or comments to add to the consent agenda, it is an action item.
So moved. This is Melissa.
Second, Jennifer.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jennifer Lewis Canigator. All those in favor say aye. Melissa,
Aye.
Missy,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Candy,
Aye.
and Jill, aye. Motion to approve the consent agenda passes 6-0. Mr. Olson, does that mean that Barb is doing the first readings of policy, or are you doing that?
Barb is.
Okay. Well, Ms. Wilson, first reading of policies.
Yeah, thank you. The first policy that we have on the agenda tonight is policy 521, student disability non-discrimination. And the only recommended change to this policy is to change from disabled student to students with disabilities.
Okay.
This policy has been reviewed by Heidi Nistler, our Director of Special Education Services, and these are her recommendations.
Okay.
And the second policy up for first reading tonight is students with food allergies and special dietary needs. So this policy was reviewed by Sierra McDonald, our new to our district food services director. And she has made a couple of comments to this policy, including laying out a process for students and families with students that have special food requests or special dietary requests in food services. And it lays out what information needs to be on that request and who to turn the request into. And this is something that Sierra is bringing to our district and helping us do just a little bit more thorough job in this area. So here are her recommendations in this policy as well.
Okay. Well, board members, there isn't any action that needs to be taken on any of these policies this evening. But if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to either ask or give input on, please contact one of the policy members prior to the next policy committee members, or Barb or Eric prior to the next school board meeting on November 9th, because that's when I'm assuming we'll do a second reading.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I now see that it's Tina. So Tina, we begin the Tina show with a call for bids on more roofs, Jeff. There's more roofs.
Yes, so our middle school, you can hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Our middle school roof and Pinewood are kind of the two schools that have the biggest roof needs, but next summer we're going to focus solely on the middle school. And we have laid out a base bid of the greatest need areas at the middle school with a couple alternates added to the mix. Just hoping with the pandemic, maybe there'll be some room in what's budgeted to maybe do some more areas, but we really want to focus on some areas over the 6th grade wing, looking at the roof over our gymnasium, the arena gym, and hopefully some classroom space over and the base beds art and the shop area, and then hopefully looking at the canopy area, and then I believe the area L is over the kitchen, and J is I think the activity room. So we also have a timeline laid out. So tonight asking to call for bids, and then during November 12th and November 19th, advertising the ad for bid, and then doing a mandatory pre-bid meeting on November 25th at 10 a.m. at the middle school. So all vendors are thoroughly aware of the scope of the project and know what to bid on. And then having the bids due on Friday, December 11th at 2 p.m. in the district office, and we'll do a virtual bid opening. And then have the bids tallied and have a recommendation for our board meeting on December 21st.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Tina on this project? If not, it is an action item.
Tina, actually, I do have one question. I know that there has been a lot going on recently about building materials and the shortages and things like that. Is that something that is factored into their timeline when they do this, or is that something we have laid out on what we're requesting, just so that's upfront right away?
I can ask on that. I don't think the materials we're using have that shortage. I mean, I can ask, but I don't know if I've seen, because we had 2 roofs done this summer and there wasn't any shortage on that, but that was, well, one started late May, early June, and the other one started late July.
Okay. Just something I have been called to be paying attention to in some of our building projects, so just passing that along.
And I did ask if we should put something in the scope about, if we are shut down again in mid-April for the end of the school year, would we want to put something in there to start sooner than later? But I think if we make it a little more restrictive, that kind of ties our hands on who wants to bid and probably the price. So if we kind of leave it open that, at a bare minimum, it's that early June to late mid-August that it should be done. That gives them a little flexibility, depending on their workforce and maybe materials, like you mentioned, to know when they can do the project.
All right. Thanks, Tina.
Yep.
All right, great question, Candy. And we can ask the Jeff question that we'll never be done with roofs. That's really more of a statement, but we'll always have roofs, right, Tina?
Yep.
Okay.
We still have some areas at middle school, Pinewood, and actually the high school as well. But we're kind of
Okay.
crossing our fingers on the high school
Sorry, Jeff.
to get some.
But it is a good question because we are doing roofs all the time. And I think that goes to show when we think about our district as a whole, it's like there is, continual needs that our buildings have to keep them in good standing to be maintained, just like we would our homes.
Mhm.
So that being said, it is an action item.
I
So
move
moved.
to approve the
Melissa.
call for bids.
Second.
Motion made by Jennifer Lewis Cannigator, second by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Missy,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Candy,
Aye.
and Jill. Aye. Motion passes to approve the call for bid on middle school roof replacement 6-0. We have a resolution again now, Tina, to approve for the 2019-20 fund balance transfer for food service and community service.
Yep. So actually, I have two items. So the first one is the transfer from the general fund to the food service. That didn't require a resolution. This was something we did last year as well. How the state wants schools to account for when we use angel funds, they want us to do a transfer, a formal transfer. So I'm just asking for the board to approve a transfer from the general fund to the food service fund in the amount of $6,128 to record all the angel fund transfers we did for the last school year for 1920. And then the second item is having the board approve a resolution. This is more COVID related from the year 2019-20. To approve resolutions from the general fund to the community service fund, and there's two parts of that resolution. Let's see, 200 and I thought I had it on here, $206,245.09 is going from our general fund to the community ed fund to kind of cover the expenses in our childcare program. We didn't have money coming into that fund. That is a fee-based program in our our community ed fund. And another transfer from our general fund to early childhood family education in the amount of $29,332.31. Those two transfers will get their fund balance to an even zero at the start of this school year. So again, those two programs are fee-based. When I looked at our school readiness, it didn't go in negative, but it did go from $90,000 to $22,000 at the end of the year. So they still have a little bit of a fund balance in that account. But this will help get our ECFE and our regular community ed fund balance back to zero. And then we'll have to revisit again at the end of this school year that we're in right now. MDE, the Minnesota Department of Education, is allowing school districts to do transfers with the 6 assurances that are listed on that resolution, that it's not increasing state obligation or property tax obligation, so they're all neutral. It's just because we're doing those transfers because we lost revenue and trying to cover those expenses where we can. The school board must approve the transfer before our deadline, and our financial deadline is November 30th. We have to maintain accounting records that shows specific documentation of how we came up to that. So we do have that with our internal finance system. It can't jeopardize any federal requirements, and we're not doing that. and it can't interfere with equitable delivery of distance learning or social distancing models, and that is not the case. So asking one, again, with approval of the food service transfer, and then the approval of the resolution for our transfers to the community service fund.
So one, just approval for the food service from general fund, from the Angel Fund to the food service fund.
Yep.
And that doesn't need a resolution.
Nope.
Okay, so let's do that one first. So we're going to make a motion to approve the transfer from the Angel Fund to the food service fund.
Yes.
So moved.
Second, this is Missy.
So a motion was made by Jennifer Lewis Canigator, second by Missy Hansen, to approve the transfer from the Angel Fund to the food service fund. By roll call, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
And Jill? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And we'll move on to the resolution to transfer from the general fund to community service.
Yes.
And that is a resolution that needs to be read. Does anybody have that up in front of them?
I do. It is very, very long.
It is.
Tina laughs.
Tina, how much
Does
do
it
we need to read?
need to be read in its entirety? It is a bit of a book.
It is a bit of a book. I would say at least the I'm not sure.
I'll just start.
Yes, I think
this
just to
might
be
take a
safe
little
to
while.
do it all. Yeah.
Whereas Minnesota Laws 2020, Chapter 116, House File 4415, Article 3, Section 8, Subdivision 1, which stated in part, Section 8, fund transfers, fiscal years. Actually, I can go down to the whereas on the second part, right? Because I just already called out the section in the subdivision. Because that's essentially what Tina had already said. And then it says, whereas a fund transfer is allowed if the transfer meets the criteria set forth in Section 8 of the Minnesota Laws 2020, Chapter 116, House File 4415, Article 3, as noted in the subdivisions 1 through 6. And then whereas the School Board of Monticello Public Schools, Independent School District 882, has determined that the criteria identified under Section 8 has been satisfied for a fund transfer pursuant to Minnesota Law 2020, Chapter 116, House File 4415, Article 3. And whereas the School Board of Independent District has reviewed and approved the attached request for fund transfers, therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 82 authorized the school district administration to submit the attached request for fund transfers. That is it on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Second, this is Missy.
Thank you for your hard work on that, Missy. I'm just teasing. Resolution read by Candace Carta and second by Missy Hansen. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
And Jill? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Candy, for reading all of that. We'll continue on, Tina, to the approval of the 2019-2020 assigned fund balance.
Yes. So, as you may or may not know, we received COVID money or CARES money from the state. We received later on money from the county for COVID type items, and then another round of Corona relief funds from the state. And there's different deadlines for each of these funds. And I probably could have done a PowerPoint of this to better illustrate it. And with the CARES money, the first wave of funds we got, we have 2 years to spend it. The second round from the state, the Corona relief funds, they're due and have to be spent by December 31st. And the county money as well was supposed to be due to them, spent and submitted to them by December 31st. Well, early the first week of October 7th, we got word from the county that they changed the deadline to make sure that they're following the guidelines from the federal government of what's okay and approved to use with those funds. They moved it up from December 30th to October 30th. And that puts us in a little bit of a bind because what we've intended to use those funds for, not all that has shown up yet. But we looked at what we spent last spring, and what was already received. And I talked to our auditors who were just auditing that week as well to see, can I use last year's money to submit for the CARES Act? Because it's considered federal money and they do special testing with federal grants. So they allowed me to open up the books to look at some expenses that I could submit that would be eligible from last year to the county, so we wouldn't lose out on this money, and use either CARES or the state money in replacement of that going forward. But since I'm using last year's funds for next year, I want to assign that fund balance worth of expenses that we're submitting to the county so that we can use it for next year. And with our policy 714, any newly assigned fund balances over $25,000, I need board approval. So I was able to come up with $410,611 worth of technology money that I could submit based on devices that we were purchased and received prior to our now October 30th deadline that I could submit to them, so I wouldn't lose out on that money. So want to assign that fund balance in that amount for COVID so that I can use that for the 2021 school year when the other items do show up. So asking the board to approve a new assigned fund balance for 1 year and the amount of $410,611 for COVID at the end of the 19-20 school year.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
So Tina, does that take care of all three then? The Wright County, the federal, and the CARES? Would that take care of all of those dollars?
So our county money, we have $554,000 that was awarded to us. So that addresses some of that. But I do have some building money that schools have spent stuff on, custodians, a lot of cleaning supplies and product, masks, plexiglass that I can submit to get to the rest of that county threshold. Okay. And then our CARES dollars, there's more devices and technology and applicable software that goes into managing those devices. And we have some title staff in our CARES money. And then with our Corona relief funds, we have additional staff that we hired at the beginning of the school year to be ready for our hybrid scenarios. And we have additional transportation routes that have happened, the triple routes to get all the schools and be adequately spaced on our bus. So there's other things that are tied to the other grants. It was just a lot of thinking and brainstorming of how to keep track of each of these buckets and make sure that they're all in on time by the appropriate deadlines and are all eligible.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work that you had to put through. Thank you for doing that, though.
I'll be happy when it's done.
And this is the second year for the CARES dollars, right? Because you had said that was a 2-year.
This 2 years, so this is still year one. It probably feels like 2 years have gone by, but it's just
it does just a little bit. Okay, so then we still have another year on that money.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, this is an action item.
I make a motion to approve the assigned fund balance as presented by Tina.
Second, this is Jennifer.
Motion made by Jeff Hagley, second by Jennifer Lewis Canigator. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Missy,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Candy,
Aye.
and Jill, aye. Motion passes 6-0. Barb, we are up for a COVID-19 update.
Yep, we just have a few updates for the board tonight, just to keep things moving forward. If you could go to this first slide, Jill, that would be great. So last week on Thursday, we received our new numbers for our new county numbers, and they are up over 20. They're currently at, for last week, they were at 23.96. So we are in the process of preparing to move elementary to the hybrid learning model. We are working with our county support team, and also Eric is working with a regional team and area superintendents to kind of make these plans with students consistent with our neighbors and keeping everything in mind related to the county and also to our school numbers. So a lot to keep in mind, a lot of conversations going on about transitioning to hybrid. One thing that has changed since the last time we talked about elementary moving to hybrid is that elementary students will be in school Monday through Thursday in the hybrid model, and just as the secondary students, elementary students will be in distance learning on Fridays. So that is something that's kind of come forward out of the recommendations and requirements from the state, and so that is a little bit of a twist to our current plan. We did, part of looking at all these numbers and making these plans is keeping in mind our own district's dashboard. So I did highlight that again on the PowerPoint. Jill, if you want to pull that up. Clay is updating the numbers on our dashboard every week. He's doing that between Tuesday and Thursday. And so you can see, if you scroll down just a little bit further on this page, that we remain with 3 staff cases and 6 students totals. And our new cases in the past week are 2 staff and 1 additional student. So we are keeping, our numbers are staying under control. Our staff is doing a very good job of staying home. We're working with administrators this week to remind everybody of the rules that we want everybody to follow to keep COVID spread at a bare minimum when our students and staff are in schools. So we're really taking a closer look at all of this, as you can imagine. So Jill, if you could go back to the PowerPoint slide. Do you have any questions about that so far?
Let me just, I do. Okay, so let me read that again. So it's, I'm sorry. So
Okay.
the elementary schools would not be Monday through Friday anymore. They would be going Monday through Thursday.
Correct. That is a
Because that's an
requirement.
adjustment.
And that is required by MDE. So
Got it. Okay. All levels are distance learning on Fridays. Okay.
Mhm.
That was just, I missed that slide a little bit when we went on. So I just wanted to provide clarification for that.
yep, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So the plan is to watch these numbers, but to anticipate that they will continue to stay in the 20 range, and to look at moving to hybrid at the elementary level sometime after the first week of November. So remember, we're looking at a 3-point trend and watching our building numbers closely. We may have to transition quicker if something happens or if our building numbers really escalate, but as it stands right now, we're targeting that first week of November as our last week of elementary in person, and that we would be transitioning to hybrid at all levels by November 13th. in order to have the staff prepared and our parents prepared, we are looking for 2 transition days. And these days would focus on teacher training and para training for distance learning or hybrid learning, really, but integrating more technology so that in the event we do need to go to full distance, we're prepared. And we're looking at either November 4 and 5 or November 10 and 11 for those 2 planning days for staff. So
And that
remember
would be for all staff at all of the schools?
Yes.
Okay.
Whether they're distance learning teachers or in school or nature-based or all types.
All staff. Mhm.
Okay.
And we'll use that time to work with all of our teachers to really continue to develop those technology skills so that if we do need to transition to distance, we've got more skills in place. We're hoping to have devices in hand, if not then, shortly thereafter, so that we are ready and prepared for what we need to do. Superintendent Olson would like a little bit of input from you as the board. He's feeling like the 10th and the 11th might be better days to do the teacher training, keep our kids in school up until November 6th, which is a natural break in our calendar. Jill, if you click on those dates, our school calendar will come up and that will help maybe a little bit. So November 6 and 9 are already staff development teacher workshop days. And so, well, actually November 6 is a distance learning day and we're using it for training paras. So teachers would still be working with students on November 6. So if we continue to hold school through the 5th, go to a distance learning day, and then have the 9th, 10th, and 11th to do some training with our staff, we would be ready to go hybrid at all levels on the 12th of November.
I think that the 10th and the 11th makes more sense, but where does that put us at with hours and the commitment of how many hours our students are getting?
It's a really good question. The state has authorized up to 5 additional planning days for transition. So it won't impact our hours. These can count towards student learning hours. I think the state is just acknowledging that these transitions do require time and coordination across a lot of different employee groups as well as families and daycares, everything. So they will count. We'll be okay.
Barb, has there been any input from staff? So what, if, has it been passed by them to get a little input? Is there a group that we have that?
We haven't talked to staff yet. We're bringing this to you. This is pretty fresh. You know, those numbers just came out late last week. So we can certainly take that to them after we get your input. Happy to do that.
I guess my concern would lie in, I get where it's a natural break and that would make sense to go to the 10th and 11th, and I hear that, but if our numbers are off the charts on the 5th, are we taking staff and everybody's safety into consideration to get this done as soon as possible?
Well, I think the idea is if we escalate too quickly, we will definitely act quicker. We're trying to make the best plan with the trends that they're seeing in neighboring districts. And, you know, that's...
So if we tentatively set it for the 10th and 11th, we could then adjust it going, okay, it's gone up faster than we had anticipated. Let's move it to the 4th and the 5th for those planning days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I could be comfortable with that. I just want to make sure we're taking everybody's health into, you know, and their safety into consideration.
Yep.
So if we went with the 10th and 11th, there would be no school for the kids then. Then those in person would go to school on Thursday the 12th, but do distance learning on Friday the 13th?
Yes. It would give us a time, though, to, you know, make sure everything was in place at the elementary level. then we'd probably really hit the ground running, by the 16th.
Do we need to worry anything about the Group A and Group B? If they're only going on a Thursday, then that's only one of the groups for that week?
There might be some consideration about that, Melissa. That would be something that we could ask our secondary principals to weigh in on.
Yeah.
Whereas if we went with the 4th and 5th, kids would be in school Monday, Tuesday, but then out of school until we get to that following Tuesday, the 10th.
They would all be doing distance learning on Friday. So they'd be out 2 days on the 4th and 5th, and then in distance on the 6th,
Okay.
and then out on the 9th, and then back in hybrid on the 10th.
I guess I want to say, and hopefully I know there's some administrators on here or people watching on YouTube or on the YouTube channel, is that we recognize everything that staff and teachers and parents in the community are going to have to do to make this transition, and that we could potentially have further transitions moving ahead in this year. And it's not how we would design the school and learning, but being that we are living in a pandemic, we are thankful for all the work the staff, from custodians, secretaries, teachers, staff, administration, everyone, that they're doing to make the best possible education available to all of our students. So I just want to recognize that as we start to go into this time. That we know it's not easy, and I guess I feel like I can speak for the board in saying that we are really, really thankful for the people we have at every level that are doing this work, and they're not going to be easy changes. So just to recognize that for everyone, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be bumps, but knowing that I feel confident that we have our students in the best possible hands. We will do our best to keep everything as calm as we possibly can within these really trying times.
Thank you for saying that. I think that's important for staff just to keep hearing that acknowledgement. That's great.
I think the one concern I have about this is that I think we need to pick dates that makes it easiest for the community and the parents to understand. Is it possible to go back to the calendar real quick? The concern I have is that if you have it on the 12th and 13th, we're going to have kids that are going distance learning, and then we'll have a day where they're in class. Then we have a day where they're hybrid learning. We're going to have parents asking and saying, are we distance learning today? What day is a hybrid learning? What days are my kids going hybrid learning? What days am I going distance learning? Are they in class today? Is Group A in class today? Or is Group B in class today? Is Group B hybrid learning today? Or is Group B distance learning today? What do we have school today? Those are the concerns that I have. And so any way that we can make this as easy as possible without having to intermingle all these different days at different times, I think would be the best route. So if we can somehow figure out the way of less resistance, would probably be the best thing to do.
Are there finals for kids around that time too, that we're going to be running into 2 days? Because I think the end of the quarter is on the 6th. Is that going to run into any finals for any of the students at the high school?
That's a good
I know
point.
some of them really want those, especially with those CIS classes and things. I guess I just don't know how that ends
Yeah,
up
the end
for
of the
them.
quarter is on the 6th, I believe.
So part
I
of
don't
this.
know. Barb,
Go
I
ahead.
don't know if it's my place, but if I can just offer a little insight into the high school perspective, the secondary. So if we're looking at the week of the 9th, what we've planned, because we had to think through this with transportation and some of the early releases earlier this fall, late summer, early fall. So that Monday, the 9th, from the secondary level, because we're in the hybrid world right now, The 9th is our professional development day. And what we did 6/12 is pushed our A/B schedule back so that Tuesday the 10th is an A day, Wednesday's a B day, Tuesday's an A day. And we're actually using that Friday the 13th as an in-building day. So we aren't having our distance learning day, our typical Friday schedule that week, because we lost the Monday. Anytime we lost a Monday, we pushed our A/B schedule back to be really consistent with all of the issues and concerns that you're bringing up. So from the secondary, on the 13th, we are bringing students into the building. That will be our B group. Tuesday, Thursday will be A. Wednesday, Friday will be B, because of all of those things that you just had shared. And when we were planning transportation, when we were planning food service, just everything, it felt like we had taken the Monday, we were going to shift the whole hybrid back a day. So
Lori, that would actually work out well then if you had those days on the 12th and 13th, because you would have your A group on a Monday and your B group on a A group on a Tuesday and your B group on a Wednesday. And so if they're at the same pace and doing the same things, nobody's going to get behind, correct?
You're exactly right, because we went through the whole school year, and anytime we were off of a 5-day week, we really were very intentional and critical in looking at the A/B balance, what made sense across the districts, like I said, in terms of transportation, what made sense in terms of just, maintaining safety, but also getting kids into our building as often and consistently as possible. So, like the following 2 weeks later, the Thanksgiving week, that week, because of the early release, because of transportation, those 2 days are distance learning days for the secondary level, because of just the balance and all of the details that we had to think through. So anytime we're in a non-5-day week, we really looked critically at that. So just something to share with you. Again, I don't know, just to provide some context from the secondary level.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, thank you, Lori.
So, Lori, would it be your preference to have those days on the 12th, 13th?
The 10th and 11th. You mean have the days off on the 10th and 11th, Jeff? Or have the days in school on the 12th and 13th?
I thought we were talking about having the days off on the 12th and 13th.
No, the days off were the 10th and 11th.
Oh, well, yeah. So then that would work still, because then you have your A on a Thursday and on a Friday. So, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Barb, did we want to take an action on that now, or is that just something we're putting out and we have room to adjust it again? Like we said, is like this would be the ideal to do it on the 10th and 11th is what I'm hearing the board say.
Okay.
But and correct me if I'm wrong, but should numbers shift, we would be able to make that adjustment as well.
Yes.
If needed. Okay.
Is there an elementary principal that could speak to this?
I see Linda and Gabe both.
Yep.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Linda.
I think either the 4th or 5th or 10th or 11th could work. And I think the high school and middle school have schedules that are more complex than ours. So I think the 10th and 11th would work. I was going to talk about it with my leadership team tomorrow morning and get some input from the elementary staff.
Okay. Linda, can you shoot us some feedback if you have anything you think that'll be beneficial for us in making that decision?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay. I'm assuming you're speaking for Gabe.
That's right. Gabe usually does the speaking.
There's Gabe.
I forgot about that.
I think just running it into those other days that are off is helpful for the elementary kids and just being consistent. So, rather than having 2 days and then a couple days back and then another 2 days, it's helpful just to run it all together for the elementary kids as far as the schedule goes. So I don't see any problem with it, but we'll do the same thing during our leadership meeting this week.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to get anything to us that you think will be pertinent or helpful for us, Gabe, and Linda, that'd be awesome.
Can do.
All right, thank you.
All right. So we'll kind of lean towards the 10th and 11th unless we hear differently from staff and principals.
Oh, that sounds good.
Well,
All
this This is something to take into consideration. Do we need board approval for doing changes like we did the last time with distance learning? Because we won't have another board meeting prior to November 9th.
Right. Jill, I don't think it would hurt to get board approval. So let's go ahead and do it. And then if we need it, we'll have it.
Well, I think we do because it's a calendar change, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Great.
I think we do have to approve it through a vote.
So we'll do that for the 10th and 11th again with, and then if something happens and we have to do an emergency board meeting, like an 8 o'clock in the morning one or something like that, or however, and what we can post it in enough time. If we have to change it to the 4th and the 5th because of health, you know, oh my goodness.
I think if it was the health of the staff, that would be MDE telling us to do it, and I think we'd be okay. So
okay.
I think if we just lean towards the 10th and 11th, and then if it changes to the 4th and 5th, either based on safety or strong feedback from the principals and the staff.
So we're making a motion to have school preparation days for hybrid transition and into hybrid learning for November 10th and 11th. And we need to make an action item on that. Okay, so we're calling for a motion for an action item to have the days of November 10th and November 11th for transition days to hybrid learning for the district.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion made by Jeff Hagley, second by Jennifer Lewis Cannigator. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
And Jill? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And one more quick one. We have another amendment to the school board meeting calendar. We're adding a virtual meeting at 8 a.m. on November 13th, 2020 to canvass the 2020 election results. Barb, I believe, are you handling this one? Or
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that right now, Jill.
We'll
That's
do
great.
the action. Okay, so we'll just do an action on that. I don't think we need any discussion. We have to canvass the results in a certain amount of time, is my understanding. So we're having a special school board meeting at 8 a.m. on November 13th, which is an action item.
This is Candy. So moved.
Second, Jennifer.
Motion made by Candice Carta, second by Jennifer Lewis Cannigator. All those in favor by roll call say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
And Jill, aye. Motion passes 6-0. And one more time, with that, that was our last item that we have on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, I want to interrupt though, because we missed the Tina update on how the MEA air thing went.
Yeah,
and I
so
want to hear.
if we pop back to the COVID presentation, there just were a couple more bullets below that. And one of
Okay.
them is a comment about our air handlers. So just a heads up that there is community testing taking place in Monticello this week.
Yep.
That moving forward, Tina and I are meeting with Sierra tomorrow to start working on what food service procedures will be if we should need to move to full distance learning. Eric is working with Hoagland's on transportation plans because that's the other area that will be impacted when elementary moves to hybrid. So he's focused on that. And now Tina's going to give us a quick update on the air handler units that were installed.
I'm so sorry to almost miss out on that, Tina.
I know, it's good news.
Yep. So I believe all of our units that were in our bid specs were done. We did notice with some of our buildings that some units were missed, so I'm working on some change orders to get those added and done for our buildings. I think there was a couple at Eastview, some at the high school, and some at the middle school. So we're working with our engineer and architect to make sure that those get updated in a change order and that those get done as soon as possible. We had a unit that we purchased for the ALP building. Since we leased that building, we didn't do anything with the air handler units in that building itself. It was more something that we were able to plug into that space and get the air quality better in that space. And so if we ever did leave that building, we could, unplug and move on to another space. So happy that it was a smooth process to get all the units that were in the specs done. And again, just waiting for a couple of those to get updated next. So hopefully people are breathing better air and things are being recycled and ionized and all that.
When did the ALP get done? Cindy, have you noticed a difference?
I believe theirs was like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been there, but I'll check in with them.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
I didn't know if you were over there.
yeah, the students were really interested, and so they got to see, ask questions to the vendor that installed it, and get a little more engineering background on how it all worked.
All right. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we will call for an adjournment. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Jennifer Lewis Cannigator, second by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Candace?
Aye.
And Jill? Aye. Motion passes to adjourn at 6:49. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.